Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship fundamentals, and I am very excited to have this conversation. It is a little bit daunting, a little overwhelming because there's so much information to talk about when you're really trying to break down entrepreneurship. But the one thing that I want you to be assured of as a participant tonight is that you will be gaining valuable insight and information into the psyche of what it takes to be successful at entrepreneurship. This is not going to be rocket science. It's intended to be fun and lighthearted, but you should walk away with some real foundational information, and it should really generate some questions for you to be able to have you ask yourself, am I performing at top peak? Am I thinking about my business in a way that's going to yield me success? And am I really bringing my A game to the table? Fostering innovation and unleashing creativity requires the right environment, which is, of course, always going to start with your mindset. And if you develop the right attitude regarding your business ownership up front, you are going to be able to nail business because it's all about attitude and execution. If you have that attitude that's really dialed into the fundamentals, you are going to be more prepared to identify strategies and create process-based approaches that are going to help you to master the basic principles of business ownership. We've got somebody else waiting to come in the room. Let me let them in. So let's talk about the entrepreneurship fundamentals. Well, first, let me introduce myself because I know that you guys know me, but I want to introduce myself as if we were all strangers in the room right now. So my name is Tisha, and I am the founder of Rarity Creative Co., which is a full-service, woman-owned strategic consulting firm dealing with and specializing in business startups, brand and image development, and marketing. I work with clients to clarify their vision, structure their ideas with the ultimate outcome of expanding their influence and increasing their income. And I do want to say right now, and I tell everybody who says they want to be in business this, don't ever lie to yourself and say you're not in business to make money, because being in business is about making money. And so increasing that income should always be a part of what you're looking at for your bottom line. So let's talk about entrepreneurship fundamentals. The fundamentals are essential to identifying and seizing opportunities. They are essential to mitigating risk and differentiating your business from other businesses. They'll help you set goals, manage your finances, and build beneficial business relationships. Now, again, if you gain a solid understanding of this, you are going to avoid making costly mistakes, and you're going to avoid missing opportunities and failing to achieve your goals, because you need to be goal-oriented and goal-driven in business, period. I want to start by explaining to you the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Does anybody, you can either raise your hand or you can unmute yourself. Does anybody know what the entrepreneurship ecosystem is? Okay, so the entrepreneurship ecosystem is the system that supports business. So it's all things business. It's the customer, it's the product, it's the business relationships, it's everything, all of the nuances that support business. And in this ecosystem, entrepreneurs in the ecosystem of business, entrepreneurs play the biggest role. You as an entrepreneur are the driving force behind the business ecosystem. And I'm talking about from corporations all the way down to mom and pop operations. Now, the reason for this is because you drive innovation. As an entrepreneur, you are the force behind innovation in the business community, always. You will develop new products and services, you'll find new markets, and you'll introduce new business models that can provoke economic growth. And coming from a background in government, governments are always looking for economic drivers. And so these ideas that you have in your head, even though they may seem like a small thing, they're not. And you need to understand that you as an entrepreneur, you're a big deal in the ecosystem. You contribute to economic growth. Now, what does that mean? That means that as you're building your business, so when you have this idea, you're going to make widgets, as you're building out this business to make these widgets, you are stimulating the economic activity and you're increasing the economy's overall size. You are, as an entrepreneur, building enterprise for everybody else to be able to benefit from. You're creating new jobs. You're hiring employees, contractors, service providers that can help to reduce unemployment and stimulate economic growth. You guys know, if you pay attention to the news at all, I don't like the news, but if you listen to the news on any level, you always hear conversations about economic stimulation and about the unemployment rate. As entrepreneurs, we directly affect that, because if you think about it, if you start a business and you hire 5 people, you've taken 5 people who may not have had a job and you've created one for them. So that, again, is a big deal. You're also fostering competition, which is hugely important. And you are really building networks. Think about all the chambers of commerce. Think about the business networking groups. You're building these networks that connect community. And so as an entrepreneur, you're a big deal. So if you are thinking about, or if you're already in the space of business, just know you're a big deal and all eyes are going to be on you. Some people might be rooting against you, but on the grand scheme of things, people are cheering for your success because they need you to make it in order for our economy to be strong. It is important to note, though, that entrepreneurship is not just about starting a business. It's so much more than that. Entrepreneurship is about looking for the opportunity or needs that your niche fills. And so when you think about entrepreneurship, you need to know that you are looking for opportunities to fill a niche. You've got to fill the niche. And as you design and develop, I don't know where my slides are. Hang on a second, you guys. It skipped us a little bit forward. My apologies. As you are working to fill that niche, you have to understand that you're trying to create something that is going to not only set you apart, but that's going to be innovative and creative and just really drive business and production. You also need to understand that you're going to take risks that are going to push you out of your comfort zone. This, for me tonight, is a risk that is pushing me completely out of your comfort zone. But you have to be willing as an entrepreneur to take that risk and to be pushed out of your comfort zone. Adrienne, you've got your hand raised. What's up? Unmute yourself.
For me, the slide is still on the first slide.
Is it there for everybody? Are you guys still seeing the first slide?
I see entrepreneurship fundamentals. That's it, just the words.
That is the first slide. Let me see why it's not moving for you guys. Thank you, Adrienne, for showing me that. Let me go back in. I'm going to turn my camera off because that might be slowing down. Let me go back in and share my screen. So as I was saying, tell me if you can see this slide now. It should say you are an important part of the business ecosystem. Perfect.
I see that. Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, you're going to have to get out of your own head as an entrepreneur. And this is designed to help you do that, because at the end of the day, there are so many narratives and so many misconceptions about what building a business is. And we will often find ourselves trapped in those narratives, and it hinders or impedes our growth. So today, what we're going to focus on talking about is cultivating the entrepreneurial attitude and that perspective. We're going to touch on the negative aspects of entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about the 10 misconceptions surrounding entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about the strategies and those process-based approaches to building your business. And we're going to talk about fostering innovation and unleashing creativity. This is all going to be very high level because we would be here for 8 weeks if we really dug down into each one of these. We're going to high level hit on this just to generate some questions for you. I want you to think about this attitude and perspective. Now, think about people that you know, and it doesn't even have to be in the entrepreneurial space, but think about people that you know. Did our screen move to the next one? Let me know. Did the slide change?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. We're cooking with gas. So think about people that you know in your circle and you're like, they just have a bad attitude. Like every time you're around them, they've got this Debbie Downer attitude and they're talking about why nothing's working for them and why it's all, everything's just so bad. And you're looking at them most of the time. And if you're on this call, entrepreneurs tend to be very optimistic. We think we can do anything. And so we tend to look at those types of people and we immediately understand that as long as they have that Debbie Downer disposition, nothing is ever going to change for them. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. If you have the ideology that in business, everything is working against you, nothing is working out for you, it's going to be so hard. If you're burying yourself under myths and misconceptions, you are most certainly going to find yourself struggling in business. When we talk about an entrepreneurial perspective, I want to know from you guys. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quickly because I want to know from you guys. And if you wouldn't mind turning your cameras on, because I want to see your lovely faces. What are some of the things that you think an entrepreneur's mindset is made up of? Like, how do you think they think? What are some ideas that you think really motivate an entrepreneur? When you think perspective and attitude about a business owner or a business builder, what are the things that come to mind for you?
I'll let Adrienne talk first.
Hey, Shelly.
So,
Go ahead, Adrienne.
so what I think is I am one of those entrepreneurial spirits, and I think I could do everything, and I have a lot of good ideas. I'm optimistic, not afraid to fail because business is a risk. I think in most things, a lot of entrepreneurs are optimistic but realistic.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's really good. What about you, Shelly? What are 3 things that you would ascribe to an entrepreneur in terms of how they think or how they move or just how they are?
I am going to say that I think the 3 things that an entrepreneur, the attributes is they are a dreamer. An entrepreneur is a creative, a dreamer, and a problem solver. And I think that even though they are realist, I think they look or seek to solve a problem through dreams and vision.
That's really good. That's good. Yeah. Dr. Kim, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I do, Tisha, but hold on for a minute. If you saw me right now, everybody would check off. But let me say, and I'm about to show myself in just 1 second.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But are you asking what are they? What should they be? What are you asking?
When you think about an entrepreneur, if you had to tell somebody, these are 3 characteristics that I would assign to an entrepreneur, what would those characteristics be?
I think a really successful entrepreneur needs to be selfless, okay, and hardworking, and I guess another thing is, hard working is there, but I think a selflessness has to be there in order to be really successful. And almost to where the mentality of, I will give you more than what you pay for, to whereas that whole idea of, yes, I am compensated, but the value of what I'm giving you, you could never pay me for. And that it should be really at that level. And to whereas of really, and I think that that last one can be a 2 and a 3, to whereas of just, and not because you're an entrepreneur, not because they're paying, but because you care about them, of almost a servanthood type of thing.
That's really good. That's good. And you guys pretty much hit on a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. But the biggest thing that I think everybody should always lead with when you think about an entrepreneur is knowing that we have a unique way to look at the world. Our vision is so much different than the standard vision, because we are always looking at, and to your point of selflessness, we're always looking at, how can I meet a need? How can I fill this void? What is there that I can do that can challenge this space? And it's so interesting, because most of us who are entrepreneurial find that even when we are at somebody else's job, when we're working in the business space, we're even intrapreneurial, which is really just a word that describes you're working at somebody else's job, you're in somebody else's corporation, but your mind is constantly thinking about, how can we do this differently? How can we improve upon this process? How can we make this better? You're innovating within somebody else's structure. So that vision is just, it's like 2020 vision all the time for an entrepreneur. This perspective emphasizes the importance of creativity. I heard that word, adaptability, and willingness to take calculated risks to achieve success. Entrepreneurs who can cultivate that type of mindset are more focused on growth, profitability, and the long-term success of their business. So if you can get your mind right, you're going to hear me say this so many times, if you can get your mind right, you can make your business work. If you can get your mind right, you can make your business succeed. Now, there's a profile that, there's textbooks and there's been studies and research done, and they've profiled entrepreneurs. And one of the things that they found is there's no set base, right? Like, entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. They come from all different types of demographics. They come from very wealthy ends of the spectrum, from very poor ends of the spectrum. They come from all different walks of life. But there are some common traits and characteristics that are often associated with an entrepreneur. And I wanted to just very quickly take a look at those. I'm not going to turn that PowerPoint back on right now. I'll send that to you guys so that you can refer back to it. And you'll also receive a copy of my notes, so you don't have to feel like you have to write everything down. I see your pen going, Shelly, I'm talking to you. I want you to really take this in. I want you to be so present and so engaged in the conversation. So here's some of those characteristics. And if you feel like this is you, I just want you to just kind of nod your head and give me the yes. A passion and a drive to succeed in your venture, willingness to take calculated risks, ability to identify and seize opportunities, flexibility and adaptability in response to changing circumstances, vision and creativity, persistence and determination in the face of obstacles, strong work ethic, confidence in your abilities, strong communication and interpersonal skills, ability to build and lead a team, resourcefulness and ability to make the most of limited resources, financial and business acumen, commitment to continuous learning and improvement. So those are like the top 13 things that scholars got together and they said, we've really dug down into the entrepreneurial mind. We've paid attention to the patterns of these business builders. And here's who we say that this is what they look like to us. Now, when you hear those, it can be discouraging if you allow it to be, because often we will have a group of characteristics, but we'll be missing some. But I want to tell you the one thing that should encourage you when you hear this list, whether you have 5 or all 13 of these attributes, there's one thing on here that is a huge, huge, huge deal. My alarm is going off. Give me just a moment. 3935. My apologies. The thing that's a huge deal is the ability to build teams. If you can really drill down into the ability to pull together a good team, you can have each and every attribute that's on this list, whether you possess it or a member of your team does. So let me give you an example. Maybe you are not very flexible and able to be adaptable and respond to changing circumstances. Maybe you're very, you want to step out and you want to start a venture, but you're very used to order and being able to know that what is what is, what is what will be. You need to have somebody in your corner who can balance that with you, who has that ability to be a little bit more adaptable, who can stretch you and pull you in that area. Because if you can begin to build your team where they make up for your deficiencies, you've got a strong foundation, a very strong foundation. I'll give you an example. I am a planner, not a planner. I'm an executor, excuse me. I'm not a planner. I am an executor. And because I'm an executor, I will get an idea. I'm a visionary and I'm an executor, which means that I will get an idea and I'm ready to go do it. Like I will say, I want to, perfect example. I'll give you a real life example. I want to host a community event. I said this when I was in office. I want to host a community event. I want to have a lot of people there. And in my mind, it was, I want to host this event, want to have a lot of people there. Let's go do it. I had a planner who was closely connected to me who said, okay, that's what you want to do? Great. And they began to walk me through each of the steps and ask me questions to get my mind to think about, what are we going to do in this instance? How are we going to handle this? How are we going to execute this? And we were able to pull off one of the biggest events that the city has ever seen because my strengths complemented their weaknesses and their strengths complemented mine. Team building is probably the most important thing on this list if I had to rank them in order. So in short, we're highly motivated people. Are you highly motivated entrepreneurs? Are you motivated at all? Do you need motivation? Okay, good deal. Good deal. Adrienne and Shelley, are you motivated in your mind to be a successful entrepreneur?
It depends on which day of the week it is. I'm just kidding. Yes, I am.
Good deal. Good deal. And you also have to be willing to take those calculated risks. Now, Adrienne said this. She said, you have to be a risk taker. I will say this. You do need to be a risk taker, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more when we get to the myths. You do need to be a risk taker, but you're not just jumping out of a plane with no parachute. Because we want you to know that as an entrepreneur, you are taking calculated risks based upon information that you've already gone out and dug up and looked into that say, this is a need, here's how you can fill it, and there's a market for this. So you are taking a risk that gives you the upper hand and gives you an opportunity to not feel like you're going to fall and splat right on your face. Now, there are some things that you really want to be very mindful of when you're thinking about entrepreneurship. And I know each of you. And so I'll say this, we all have type A personalities. Shelley, what is the type A personality? No right or wrong answer. Just tell me what you see.
A analytical thinker, a critical thinker, someone who could be somewhat rigid. Is kind of baked into their personality to be rigid. But as they move up in leadership and in entrepreneurship, they become a little bit more adaptable because they still are a servant at heart.
Okay. So I will tell you, Adrienne, do you have something that you can ascribe to type A?
A boss.
You took my words. I was sick. I was gonna say that. And I think, I'm going to say this because, again, I know each of you. I'll say this about Dr. Kim. There's a gentleness that you can boss with because she has shown me that gentle, I'm in charge and this is how we're going to do this, but it's still, you are the boss. So with that type A personality, and we tend to become very hyper focused on our projects. Like, there's something in front of us and it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to nail it. Listen, I'm not going to point to the person, but I sent somebody on this Zoom a link to I sent actually all three of y'all. So thank you guys for supporting me and being a part of this. But I sent all three of you a link to my website and I sent them to you at the same time. I got 3 different levels of feedback from each one of you. One of you on this call literally was up all night long going through with a fine-tooth comb, and we had a meeting the next day, and it was like, look, here's what I see. That is that entrepreneurial drive. It's like a dog with a bone. You're not going to let it go until you're done with it. You are going to, if they tell you it's going to fail, you're going to show them that it's not. That is that type A. But here's the thing. That makes business ownership extremely stressful. So if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you need to understand that stress is a part of that lifestyle. Now, stress is not, when you hear the word stress, does that sound like a cuss word to you? Yeah, I see you
That's
nodding.
funny.
Yeah, it sounds
Not
like
really, because I got kids.
it's
I'm gonna stop joking, y'all.
okay. It's lighthearted is just fine.
Yes.
But most certainly, when somebody says, listen, I'm stressed, automatically the first response that people have is, well, let's figure out how to get you to relax, right? Listen, entrepreneur, I need you to work through your stress. I need you to harness your stress and let it be your energy. I don't want you to feel like stress is a bad word. I think that when you become overly stressed and you do not know how to put it down and walk away, that's a problem. But stress means this is important to me. It means that I ascribe value to this. This is something that I think is valuable, and I want it to be done and executed in the right way. I also want you to be mindful of this, entrepreneur. You need to operate, and Shelly, you and I, we talk about this, and I'm loving the podcast, by the way. I'm probably gonna share that with my network. But I want you to really focus on the difference between excellence and perfection. Because type A entrepreneur, you want to be excellent, but you want to not worry about being perfect. Because see, if I would have really focused on perfection, we would not be having this tonight. Because in my mind, perfection meant I was going to have 15 people on this call. I was going to have it all laid out. I was going to have moving graphics, and there's going to be a light show, and that's perfection. And I wasn't going to jumble any words, and it was just going to be fantastic. The reality is, and this at the 11th hour, you guys, I was in prayer and the Lord said, drop the number. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
He said 5 people. And I was like, cool. And y'all, I had 5 people register. I have 3 of you on the line tonight, but I had 5 people register. I said, well, thank you. Then he said, now I want you to do it, and do it as well as you can. And don't worry if you bomb. So listen, ladies, I'm glad I know you all, because if I tank tonight, there's grace. Okay. But you're going to still leave. Even if I do not present this perfectly, the information is excellent. And you will leave with excellent information. You may have to sift a little bit. You may have to, when I send you my notes, you may have to read over it again. You may have to look at the PowerPoint in your spare time, but you will have excellent information that will give you a jump start on having a strong entrepreneurial mindset. And that is what you want to walk away with. What is your why, ladies? Why are you in business? Why do you want to own your own business? Why? Why do you own your own business? Why do you want to? Why? Why are you an entrepreneur?
Because I want to be rich.
Okay, that's a
I'm
very,
just joking. I'm just joking.
but
Because
that's a valid reason.
but I really, the arts and craft, I really, really enjoy what I do. And if I could bring it to somebody else and they can get as much joy out of it as me and get paid, is a bonus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kim, why do you own the Dr. Kim experience?
That's so interesting. I remember, and I'm not going to be long, I promise you guys, but I remember I had, this job and I did well and everything was fine. And one day I heard in my spirit, it is time to leave, like my job. And I was very clear about it. I wasn't sure why, but I went in and I put in my 30-day resignation letter. And then, I expected a job to come and nothing came. And we filed bankruptcy and we did this and lost our house and everything. And then after that, I started speaking on my own. Let me see, how old was I? I don't know how old I was, but it was a while back. And to be very honest with you, if I've always been educated minded, okay? But I've always loved the discipline of working when I worked. I was usually the best one. I would save all my vacation time and get paid out. I was just competing with myself, and I loved knowing when I was going to leave, knowing when I was going to come. So I love that structure. So I've learned to appreciate the entrepreneurship, and it's been good. Honestly, it really has been, because I believe that's what I'm supposed to do, and I appreciate the time flexibility. But that's really the honest to goodness truth. In
Absolutely.
fact, Tisha, I get in a lot of trouble with trying to put my job, with me working for myself, in a box to where it has the start, stop, break, this, to put it in a structure of something I would do if I was not an entrepreneur. So I battle with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I asked you guys that question for a reason, and I want you to always remember your why. Always remember your why. Because if you can really always understand and prioritize your motivation for starting your business in the first place, you will be able to predict and understand your behavior as you go along throughout the course of owning your business. Now, what I mean by that is, if you, and I'm going to use Adrienne's original answer, if you started a business to get rich, then if that's your motivation, you're going to, even if you have to switch your business model, you're going to keep going until you get rich. If you started a business because you were bored and you just needed something to do on a Sunday, the likelihood of you sticking with that might not be as strong as if your why is like what Dr. Kim's why was. Listen, the Spirit told me to do this. And when I did this, I found freedom and flexibility. My why was, I was broke and I did not have the ability. My car was broken down. I was broke. I did not have the ability to get here, there, and where I needed to get to. And so my first business venture was to make flyers. This was back when we had the little cheap printers and we were all just learning how to like take a picture, paste it on the page. Like there was no fancy Canva, none of that. Put the picture on the page, write some words on the page, and go hand them out. I made flyers for a cleaning company that I didn't even register. I just made a cleaning company, had a brilliant name, which I carried out for years.
Wow.
And then went to my neighbors and started handing these flyers out because I needed to make money to pay my rent. And I didn't have a car to leave my neighborhood, but I knew how to clean a kitchen. I knew how to clean a bathroom. I knew how to vacuum, and cleaning supplies were dirt cheap. So my why was, I need to be able to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that has carried through every part of my entrepreneurial activity from that day until now. And so protecting your why is essential. It's essential. Never, ever, ever stop protecting your why. Never. Entrepreneur, it is so important for you to protect your why. Now, I want to give you a couple of ways that you can do that. I'll give them to you quickly because I'm sure that you've got some other ways that you honed in on. But the first thing, and this is the biggest thing, this is the biggest way to protect your why. You need to prioritize something other than your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that probably sounds crazy because it's like, no, my business is important. Prioritize something other than your business. Because see, we're each women. Each of us has other familial relationships. We've got some friends out there, maybe not a bunch. Like I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones I have, I still need to be connected to.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Lord. I need to honor that relationship. And so I've found that, there's this narrative in the world, and I am just set to destroy this narrative. The narrative is hustle hard, right? Hustle hard.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to work hard when it's time for me to work hard, but I'm also going to enjoy, like Dr. Kim sent me a message and she said, today's my husband's birthday. I may have to jump off. No problem. Because while this is good information, that's a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great relationship. And those great relationships feed our ability to be in business. Adrienne, think about it. Your crafting space has really taken over your house, right? but the great relationships that you have with your children, like you've got all kind of equipment. You've got, if somebody needs something, all they've got to do is pick up the phone and you can make it because you've got everything right there and you know how, but you've still hewn out space for your home to be your home and for your relationships with your children to be at the forefront. Your why is you're prioritizing your family over your business. And so
I think,
go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I think also when you are trying to be an entrepreneur, you have to explain to your family what your why is and what you're doing. So even when the crafting takes over, they get it.
Yes.
So that's a stressor that is not able to be a stressor.
Yes. And it's not that you just shove it down their throat. It's that they come alongside and they're a part of that process with you. You know, I could never do the things that I do if my children were not on board and if they did not feel like they still had their mom. And everything, you know, like I can remember, you guys, I'll share this with you and then I'll share a few more tips with you. But I remember when my girls were very young and I was a single mother. And I just didn't want everybody else raising my kids. I wanted to be their mom. I wanted to be able to go up to the school and for the teachers to know me and see me so they could know you're not going to mistreat these kids. Like you're going to take care of these. And I wanted to be able to support the educational process and go on the field trips and make the lunches. And a job did not afford me that, because when you're at a job, you can't just take off you couldn't then. Maybe it's different now, but you really couldn't do that. But that was so important to me. It was so important to me. And being able to do that afforded me, creating that entrepreneurial endeavor afforded me the opportunity to be with my babies who are not babies anymore. So just protect your why and make sure that your why is your prioritize your life. Don't let your business overrun your life. Also surround yourself with support system, which plays into what we were just talking about. Have a support network. Have people that you can pick up the phone and you can tell them, listen, this is not going well. What do you think about this? Or have people that you can send your website to that will critique it and that will honestly give you really good feedback and that will tell you this is great and this sucks. Like, when I say a support system, I don't mean yes men. What's the difference between a support system and yes men, Shelley?
The yes man is just going to agree to whatever you want and not really, have any pushback. Absolutely. When it comes to decision making. Like they just go with what you want, even if it's jacked up, But a support system is going to tell you the truth, whether it hurts or not, and you should be open to receiving the truth. That's what we should all endeavor to hear, the truth.
Absolutely. Dr. Kim, what's the value of having people in your circle that tell you the truth, particularly when it comes to your business?
It's very, very valuable, with everything. With everything, for every blessing, there's a curse. And so it can be very valuable to have people in your circle that tells you the truth. But then it's up to you to have wisdom to know who's in your circle and that you really can trust them and that they want the best for you. And even if they want what you've got, that they could still be happy for you, even though they're still waiting. It's a very complex type of thing. So so it's important to know who's in your circle and their true character. And to whereas when Shelley, I agree with you so much to whereas, because I love you, I'm going to give you the truth about this or that because I want you to work. I want it to work for you. And if you forgot you were an ambassador, let me tell you that you were.
That's right.
Put that on your resume,
Yeah,
let me
cheer for you. Yeah, let me cheer for you. Let me cheer for you.
Because we so often,
Absolutely.
You see Shelley's
A little
heart.
Yeah.
But I, to whereas sometimes we forget all the things that we've done. Thank you, Adrian. It's so true. Sometimes we forget all the things that we've done and we overlook it, and somebody else like, but what is that? What about that? What about that? When Adrian also talked about, and it's like letting her family know, just and yes, it's important she does that, but that's also loving your kids. It's loving your family. Listen, sweetheart, from 3 to 5, mommy's really busy and I want you to understand this, or getting them involved in a project within your project, to whereas it's and just letting them know, this is my quiet time, therefore I need you to be quiet. And of just it really does come back to, if people can be honest with you that really love you, and I say that, Tisha, with, and I don't care if it's your mother, your brother, your sister, they may not be the one. So you have to really look at people's character and be very wise about who you listen to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also just really be and learn to really go by your peace. I talk about that a lot, to whereas, I think that I should have allowed people to be in my life more that cared about me, I guess. But I remember when I first started speaking and had never spoke before. And, I started out at Syracuse, Buffalo, then New York City. And then I think I went to New Jersey the fourth night, and everybody there was more educated than me. It was like 120 women. I was a kid, and it was up to me to hold them for 8 hours and talk to them about leadership. And so then I remember the night before, and I didn't even know enough to be scared. I just went, okay, and then I remember the night before, I was like, God, I really should have been listening to, Les Brown or this or that. And it was so clear that God told me, I will teach you. I will teach you. And so a lot of times we think that what we should do is what other people do. And I often talk about a copycat syndrome, to whereas with me, and I'm sure with others, to whereas it hasn't been so much of go towards and ask opinions, and it's all good, but it has been more about not just, I will tell you. And I will tell you through the peace that you have with it. And if you have nothing, then do nothing.
Right.
And so you start learning that, but that's a whole different level, of trust, so I think it's very important. Other people, I have not, but I have just really learned, and I think I need some healing not that anybody has hurt me, but I just have never invited that in. I'm open to it, and I'm open to it, but to go out and it was something. I'm gonna stop in 1 second, Tisha.
Go ahead.
Yesterday I was doing something and somebody had asked me something, and I was consulting them, and they said, Dr. Kim, you're a life purpose expert, and helping people to find their purpose. And I said thank you. And then I remember writing down life purpose, and I think I put interpreter and activator. Okay, the interpreter and the activator of life purpose. Okay, and so I was like, I like that, but it's so many things out here and people see things so differently. And I remember with my brother, he is one of the people that I will go and I will say, Tracy, listen, what does it say to you? Right. Does it cross the line too much? Right. And so but just yesterday, I remember, just quickly like trying to trying to evaluate how I felt as far as my peace, I really liked it, and I really felt that it defined me well. That I can help people find out their purpose, and I can help them activate it. That's really what my gift is. But at the same time, of just being more concerned about the message that it brings. I know what I am, and I know what I can do.
Right.
And so, okay,
And
that's
it's
it.
so,
I
and
am finished.
no,
Go
you're
ahead.
good. You're good. And I love the fact that you highlighted, because I picked up a couple of things out that I want to dig in on. You said, not a lot of people. I'm paraphrasing, not a lot of people. So when you look at your support system, it doesn't have to be a big support system. You don't need 50 people in your system. You need trusted confidants. So you have your
Yes,
brother. You have your brother. And so if that's your person, that's your person. For me, maybe 3 people tops.
yes,
There are
yes,
maybe 3 people that I will take, because entrepreneur, I need you to hear me when I tell you this, because this is valuable and this is a part of protecting your why, and it's on my list. Keep some things very private,
yes,
because when you begin to share what you're working on with people, you allow their energy to come in and mix with whatever you're doing, and
yes.
they can sometimes dominate or destroy or distract what you got going on. So keep it private.
Can I say, are you finished?
Absolutely.
Can I say something real
Go
quick?
ahead.
You know, 2 things. I do use my brother. That's kind of new, but I know that he's very anointed and he understands me. I still don't use him with everything. But because I usually know,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I usually know. Um, but one thing that I've learned, and I think this is so valuable as an entrepreneur, is that sometimes I've learned when you talked about tell them or what have you, I've learned to, if I share it, it's not so much of my ideas, it's just not for everyone.
It's not
And
forever.
I just, if I'm telling you, I guess I'm just wondering, am I telling you for you to answer back to me? Am I telling you because I need to talk? I'm
Right.
not sure why I need to. I just have found in my relationship with God that usually and this is not only as far as friends or what have you, but I have found in my relationship with God that I will say, I want to talk to them about that. And he's like, wait, it's hardly ever an okay. And a lot of times it's wait because the issue still matters to me. It's
Right.
like you get to the point to where you don't care, then you talk to them.
Then you can
But now your ego's going to be because you care about it. And so you learn about that. But I wanted to say, I just sometimes we talk to people, and I guess I have not figured out why to do that.
right.
If and I believe that we need it, Tisha. I want to say one more thing, and I promise.
Go ahead.
Okay, Shelly and Adrian, this is it for me. I promise. One thing that I've learned that is very much like this is that, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. Um, when I was going through a very hard time, I was almost not here. Um, God had to explain to me that when you are, and I'm just going to use some very interesting words that we can understand, the chosen one. And just stay with me. If you are the one, we could say, Adrian, Adrian, when it comes to your family, you are the one. You've always been the one. You're highly anointed, or Shelly, that you never felt connected. Okay. So when you are the one, your blessings come differently. When you are the one, then you become the reason why your husband does good. Your kids are blessed. Things happen because of you. Now, your life might not be that good, although you're the chosen one, because you are positioned as the giver. And see, a lot of times it's like, well, what about me? It's like, wait a minute. When you're the chosen one, it's like Christ. I give to you. It doesn't mean that Shelley's going to have a bad life, but it does mean that because of her, people are blessed. And that it takes that they are grabbing from Shelley, and Shelley will get hers when she finds someone else that is more wise than her. It's almost like it's not going to come from your husband, your kids, your mama, or your sister. You are the giver. They are blessed from you.
Yeah,
They're
you got
blessed from you.
that.
And a lot of times we go around and we're angry at that, but that's kind of how it works. And then Adrian will be blessed and then can get fed when she finds someone that is more knowledgeable and wise than her. Then she gets hers from that other person. So a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we need to understand that. And if we don't see ourselves as the one that's been selected to give and the one that's been, it all breaks down because we're just not positioned right. So I've learned that in just my life. And that's also one of the reasons why I've learned not to, I mean, I'm not saying no one can help me. I will listen. But I am saying that I would believe with all of us on this call, you need to really be saying something. And it's not because I'm so deep, but we need to stay humble. And the humbleness keeps us open. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think,
Okay.
and thank you for sharing that. And I think that as we move through the process, you guys, of really digging into that mindset, make sure that you are pulling out these nuggets and that you're putting them in your pocket, because you are going to need this along your journey. Because as you really recognize the traits, the behaviors, the protective mechanisms that you have to implement in entrepreneurship, you're going to get a clear understanding of your own potential. You know, there
Yes.
are a lot of people who will jump up and say, like I know somebody right now who said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I want to own a business. And I'll tell you, I know without a shadow of a doubt, because once you've been in this world,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can tell who's built for entrepreneurship. And I
Yes.
know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this individual is not ready. They've got
Yes.
some work to do before they're going to be ready. But if you are, and it's self-reflective. So entrepreneur, this is for you to do self-reflection, to ask yourself, am I demonstrating the traits of a successful entrepreneur? Am I building protective mechanisms that will insulate me from the negative effects of stress in entrepreneurship? Am I successfully building teams and networks around me that will feed into whatever? And I do want to say this, because even as that came out of my mouth, I need to correct something. And I want you guys to know, when I'm sharing information with you, I'm giving you information that I believe that my father would be pleased with, and not what I think that the world's message is. But
Yes.
the world's message is, again, hustle and grind, go out and get it. But I believe that when you are, and Dr. Kim, you used a good word, positioned properly. When you are positioned properly, there are certain things, elements that will find you, that you
Yeah.
don't have to go out and look for. So are you positioned properly so that the right team can come into place to make this come to fruition? I want to touch on some myths, because one of the destructive factors in the mind of an entrepreneur are the myths that we have been fed surrounding entrepreneurship. So I have about 5 or 6 of them that I want to go through. And I want you to tell me, first, I want you to tell me if you believe it to be a myth. And you can just, what I want you to do is, if you'll just press, the hands up button if you think it's a myth, and do nothing at all if you don't.
Okay.
Because I want to see if we agree that these are actually myths, or if we think there's validity to them. So the first thing is that entrepreneurs are doers and not thinkers. Hands up if you think that that's the truth, that entrepreneurs are doers and not thinkers. Is that a true statement? Hands up. I don't see any hands. Okay, that's excellent, because The idea that entrepreneurs are doers and not thinkers is a myth. It's a myth. There's this ideology that people just go out and do it and get it done. Listen, I told y'all, I am an executor. I am not a planner. I am horrible in business when I do not stop and am forced to plan. That is why my website, I had to hand it over and say, look at this, because I knew I needed to make a website. I didn't know why. I didn't know what for. I knew I needed to get it done, but I have to surround myself with people, with individuals who understand the planning process, so that when they're going through that site or when they're helping me to execute this activity, they say, listen, baby, you got a gap here, because the gaps are failure. That's where failure gets in. When you can shore up the gaps, that's when success is imminent. And so they're not just doers. A successful entrepreneur is action oriented. Now, let's not get it twisted. You are motivated to action. Entrepreneurs want to get it done. However, they are also strategic thinkers. They're strategic thinkers. While I may not be a planner, y'all, I am a beast at strategic thinking. I will strategize through a thing because I will tell you this, I will tell you my little secret. I firmly believe that if I would have been born Italian, I would be a mob boss, because the strategy that it requires to have a mob family, oh, my brain loves that. My brain loves it. So to think through that totally works for me. Now to plan, I'm gonna have to hire a Guido to plan out how we're gonna carry this out, because I'm gonna tell you what we need to do, but you need to go and plan it out for me. And so that is, I need for you guys to understand, total myth. Do not buy it. So if you find yourself being, and Shelly, you use the word analytical, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's a great quality and characteristic for an entrepreneur to have, because you're analyzing opportunities. You're analyzing where there might be problems. You're analyzing. I see you, Shelly. I'll see you. You'll catch the replay. You're analyzing everything that's going on so that you can make your business fruitful. The next myth: entrepreneurs are born, not made. Is that the truth? They're born, not made. So if you're not born with the skill set, you can't be an entrepreneur. No hands. Perfect. Because that is also a myth. The skill set, the talent. Yeah, there are some people who are just naturally talented and they can, do business because it just comes natural to them. But it's just like singing. Just because you're not a great singer on Monday doesn't mean that 3 years from now, if you take lessons and you really work to develop your craft, you can't hold a note, because it's a skill that can be developed. It's a learned behavior that education, training, and experience can help you to do better. Also, entrepreneurs are always inventors. I know people will say, well, what did you make? What product did you make? If you say I'm an entrepreneur, well, what did you make? Because they think, you should be the founder of the iPad, or these new panty liners or whatever. Like, what did you make? Well, I make ideas. I make instructional information, because it's a myth. You don't have to make a product. You just really need to be able to be very involved in identifying and creating value in the marketplace. Identifying and creating value in the marketplace. This new tool, AI is not an invention. It is a conglomeration of information converging on one point that has been tweaked to be able to make us think it thinks. It is not, it's a service. It's not an invention. It's not a light bulb. So we just have to be able to think about, how can we do this better? So we're on this call right now. How many of you have heard of business consultants? Everybody and their mamas knows a business consultant. Oh, this person can help you set up your LLC. This person can help you create your logo. This person. So what I had to do as a consultant was I had to figure out, where is there a need and how can I meet it? Because that's what differentiates me in the market where consultants are concerned. Dr. Kim is a speaker. Where is there a need and how can she differentiate herself in the market? And sometimes this is an innate thing. And I love the fact that we have believers on the line who are saying, listen, I am seeking my creator to find out how I do that. Because I believe, y'all, that's the best way. Adrienne, she's a creative. She makes things. She's a creative. So how can she, it seemed like overnight, creativity blew up. Everybody and their mama was making tumblers and t-shirts.
Yeah.
How in that market can you differentiate yourself and stand out? You have to find that way to be able to do that. And it's not as hard as before.
You asking me the question? No, let me
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead. Do you have an answer?
Sure, I think you have to be likable. Like
Yes.
sometimes in this world of big business, you don't know, it's not a personal experience.
Mhm.
And with everything I make and the customers, it's very personal, so much so this is where I have to find balance. They all think they're my friends,
Yes.
which makes it difficult sometime in business, but it does make it fruitful because they keep coming back because they're like, oh no, my friend can make that. So
Mhm.
That's really good. That's so good. Now, this one, when I heard this one, I was like, this is a very popular myth. That entrepreneurs are academic and social misfits. So like you couldn't make it in college, so you dropped out and you just started a business. And that's just not true. Like Dr. Kim, you're an entrepreneur and you have a PhD.
Yeah.
You're a doctor. So that's,
And
there are so
And I'm
many.
an introvert too, Tisha.
Me too. And most
Yeah.
people cannot believe that because when we are in our element,
Right.
it's just so easy to turn on. But
Yeah.
when it's not this, man, I'm in the corner somewhere just chilling. But it's such a myth, and we have to debunk it because we will begin to really put ourselves in this box if we operate according to these myths. Here's another one. This was one, I hear this all the time. All an entrepreneur needs is money or luck. That's all they need. They just need, if you've got enough money, you can be an entrepreneur. Or if you're lucky and you land on something, you can be an entrepreneur. I'm going to give you an example. And I love, love, love the business model of this person because it is really the demonstration of how they take the skill set and can turn anything into a business. Adrienne, I'm going to throw a quote at you and I want you to tell me who said it. I can turn a shade tree into a money tree. Who said that? Candy Burris. And she is my example that I give to people of somebody who other people would say, oh, it was just money or luck. It's not money. Money helps at this point because she has the money to be able to trademark and copyright and whatever. But it is the acumen of being able to recognize a good idea and capitalize on it monetarily. And that if you could be broke, like there are people who have had $0, but they saw an opportunity and they capitalized on it and it turned into a financial gain for them. So it's not about having money. It's not about being lucky. It is about having the skill set to be able to take an idea and make it a product or a service. All entrepreneurs are really kind of battling all of this. Here's another one. This is probably one that we are all very well acquainted with. Entrepreneurs want to succeed, but experience high failure rates. Have you guys been told that? Entrepreneurship is just so risky. It's more people fail than succeed. I've heard it. And I've been told that by a number of people when they are thinking about getting into entrepreneurship. I want to do this. I think I've got a great idea, but it's just so risky. And the reality is there are people who fail and there is some risk and some uncertainty, but no more so than at a job, because just because you have a 9-to-5 job doesn't mean when you go to work on Wednesday, they're going to still want you there. And so there's always uncertainty in every endeavor, but with that strategic planning, that strategic thinking, you are minimizing the possibility of success. But there's a theme in all of this that's unfolding. And the theme that's unfolding, entrepreneur, is that, and I need you to know, you are a risk taker. You are a risk taker, but you take calculated risks. You take risks where you have done your research and your homework, and you know this has the potential to work. There's a market for this. There's a need for this. There's an audience that wants this. This has the potential to work. Another example. I was having a conversation with a really great friend, and we were at my daughter's prom, and we were watching the kids stand in front of a static backsplash and take those pictures. Y'all remember the pictures where you stand, they have them like in the arcades, you stand and you pose, and then it'll cycle through and you pose again, and it'll cycle through. Okay, so they had one of those, and my friend looked at me and said, huh, this would be a good place for a 360. Now, if you're not familiar, the 360 machines are these platforms that you stand on. You affix a cell phone to this motion arm, and the arm goes in a circle around the person, and they can dance and do everything. And then it sends them this video, and it'll slow it down. And so it's really cool because you see them moving, and it's a 360-degree angle. So you see their whole outfit and you see their hair. And as soon as she said that, I was like, we need to buy one of those machines because that's a calculated risk. We know the audience, and we know that we can differentiate ourselves in that market. And so next month we're doing that. We're going to buy that machine, and that's a new entrepreneurial endeavor that was sparked just from recognizing there's a need.
Wow.
So the calculated risk, and this is not a risk like I'm gonna buy this machine, I don't know who's gonna use it. We know there's a demand for the machine. We know that. We know that everybody doesn't have one, because if they did, they would have had that instead of that little tired click, click, click machine that the kids were so frustrated with and we also know that we can create a plan of action before we even purchase the machine that will have the machine pay for itself by the time we receive it. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say calculated risk. It's not a series. Entrepreneurship is not a series of isolated activities. It's not you go do this and then this happens and you go do this. It is a coordinated effort or process where you plan, implement, and control your work. And understanding that there's processes associated with this help you with that workflow. There's 4 processes. I'm going to hit them very quickly. If you have questions, stop me and ask, because I want you to get this. Again, I'm going to send you guys this document so you can dig in it a little deeper. There's the events approach. There's the multidimensional approach and the assessment approach. So, and these are approaches to entrepreneurship in general. So just how a person will go at entrepreneurship in general. And you will find yourself in one of these if you think about it. The events approach is a focus on the significant events or milestones during the entrepreneurial process. So it might go like this. First, I get a business license. Then I do a business plan. Then I go and I network my business plan. Then, so you see, events, check this box, check this box, check this box. That doesn't work for me, y'all. I'm too much of a doer for the events base to work for me. But there are people out there that keeps them going. It provides a clear roadmap. It helps them to prioritize. It facilitates their planning and reduces the risk of failure for them. It also helps those entrepreneurs to monitor their progress because they're checking off those boxes. Now there's the assessment approach, which if you like these types of groups where you can come in and get information and knowledge, you probably will find yourself aligning with the assessment approach. This focuses on your skills, your knowledge, and your characteristics. So it's building you as a business owner so that you can then go out and build your business. I like that. Not really my favorite, because again, I'm a doer. So I'm the kind that I'm going to figure it out as I go, which can cost me in the long run. I want to be very honest with you. I think that there are benefits to each of these. So just because I'm saying I don't do it, please don't scrap it for you, because there's a lot of value in building your skill set. Because what that does is it allows you to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. It helps you to address those weaknesses so that you're not taking them into your endeavor. It again provides you that roadmap for development and helps you to develop an effective strategy. It also, and this is a big one, it increases confidence. So if you are finding yourself kind of vacillating and not really feeling worthy or not feeling capable, This is a great place for you to start because you're going to start to gain knowledge and information that's going to boost your confidence. When you leave this today, or if you're watching the replay, when you watch this replay, you're going to walk away and you're going to feel like you've got new lingo, new terminology. You're going to feel like you belong in the space of entrepreneurship. Your confidence is going to increase 100-fold. So that's a big deal because you've got to be confident to be in business. If you don't think you can do it, baby, you can't do it. You got to think you can do it. Success starts in your mind. Now, here's my favorite. It's the multidimensional approach, which means a little of this, a little of that. This approach involves taking into account so many factors that can impact your success of your business, including your characteristics, the business environment, resources available to the entrepreneur. Like those are the things that motivate me. Okay, so the 360 machine, maybe it's $2,000, right? If it's $2,000 and the two of us want to buy this machine, we've already realized that the environment exists for this business. So in my mind, I'm going, okay, where can I get $1,000 from? Like that's where my brain goes. And if I can check the box and go, I can get the $1,000, baby, I'll learn how to use the machine. I'll figure that out. I'll watch a YouTube video, or I'll call a friend and say, come over here and show me. I'll learn that part. So that multidimensional approach really works for me. Here's why. It provides a comprehensive view of the business. It helps me to leverage my characteristics. So I do a lot of work. And I think probably, if we're being honest, many people who are successful entrepreneurs do a lot of self-work. We do a lot of critiquing ourselves and trying to understand where we're solid and where we need help, and where God really just needs to work on us and where he's really blessed us. And I like what Dr. Kim said. She said, when you know that you're the chosen one, we're pretty confident. We know the areas that we are the chosen one. Sometimes we will forget that we're not chosen in all the areas because there tends to be an ego that can be associated with the entrepreneur. But listen, entrepreneur, if you are listening to this in the replay, because I don't think that anybody on this call right now has this problem. If you're listening to the replay, baby, please get your ego in check. Your ego will destroy your business. I'm going to say it again. Your ego will destroy your business. There's a difference between confidence and ego. I want you to be confident. I want you to know that you know what you know, but I also want you to be able to acknowledge when you don't know. And I don't want you to walk around feeling like I'm an entrepreneur, I have arrived, because just as soon as you believe that is as soon as you will fall. So this approach, the multidimensional approach, provides that comprehensive view, helps entrepreneurs leverage our characteristics, enables us to adapt to changing business environments. It's very fluid, very flexible. I love that. And it helps us to identify and acquire the necessary resources to make our businesses successful. Now, it also encourages collaboration. And I've already told you guys I'm a huge collaborator. I believe in the power of collaboration. I don't like to do much by myself. I used to love it until I realized that I suck by myself. Like there are some things that I'm really, 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 really great at alone. But I also began to recognize that there are some things that when you're trying to get it done, you need to let people do what they do great so that you can focus on doing what you do well. And that is where great collaboration comes in. I don't collaborate with everybody because I'm not everybody's cup of tea and everybody's not my cup of coffee. So I don't collaborate with everybody, but the people that are assigned to me and that I'm assigned to, I love working with them. Now, again, I want you to know if you can find where you are in these three different approaches, it will help you to recognize what is going to be most comfortable for you, what will work best for your personality style, and what will help you to really develop the approach and the processes for your business. If you are research-based, you probably want to go with one of the first two options. If you're a doer like me, you probably want to land somewhere in multidimensional, but that's for you to figure out. So I'll leave you to do that. Last two things I want to touch on before we do a Q&A and before I tell you thank you for joining me. One of them is creativity. I want to, Dr. Kim, do you mind if I use you as my example for creativity?
Tisha, I do not mind, but can I say something?
Certainly.
I do have to, I told you it was my husband's birthday.
Yes.
I do have to go, but can you do it at like, no, well, I mean, I can like in 5 minutes.
Absolutely. I just need 2.
Okay, good. Adrian
So-
heard
so-
that. Okay.
I'm gonna use 2. So and you guys time me. So here's why I want to use you for creativity.
Okay.
You have identified that you are a public speaker. You're so much more than that, but I want to hone in on the speaking for a moment. Because as a speaker, again, we can talk about a space that's very inundated because everybody that likes to talk wants to be a public speaker. Right. So they're all self-identified. I'm a public speaker. Some of them will write that they're a keynote on their CV, and they've never keynoted any of it at all. But they are, in their mind, they are.
Yeah.
The thing that differentiates you in this market, first and foremost, when you walk into a room, you are so unique. You look different than what most people would anticipate a keynote speaker to look like. First of all, you smell fantastic. So if you walk by them and they smell you, that's automatically going to engage that sense. You engage the 4 senses before you ever touch the 5th of hearing. And that is one of the things that makes you very unique, because then I'll use Les Brown as the counterpoint to this. Les Brown is very standard. He's a guy in a suit. He's a guy in a suit. And so, while he's very engaging and delivers a message that a lot of people identify with, he's still a guy in a suit.
Yes.
You are a woman with 2-foot hair. You smell like money. You come in and you've got this powerful, dynamic presence, and you just come into a room and you own it. There's creativity in that.
Yes.
A lot of people think that in order to be creative, it's like you're born that way. But I will challenge that and say, I believe that creativity can also be fostered.
Yes.
It can be fostered. All you have to do is take time to really sit down. Creativity requires silence.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
entrepreneur, there are times that you have to be quiet. Yes, go ahead, Dr.
Did you say that I smelled like money? What did you
Yes,
say?
ma'am. You smell like money.
Oh, good. Let me tell you why I say that. Because I have bought my husband some obsession. And I hate obsession because it's so loud. Okay.
Right.
But they have a new obsession out, and it is, oh my gosh. And lately I've been squirting on his obsession. And I was like, my Dulce Gabbana is just it is boring. So I thank you. I need to go back because the Dulce Gabbana is not, and it's not very loud. And it's just, okay, good.
Perfect. It's perfect. It is. And so let me reaffirm this for you, because I need you to know. When you walk by, like when you hug or you walk by, you just smell and I don't tell people often, oh, like you smell so good. But you just smell really good.
That's so
you
nice.
smell really good. And there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about that, because that's a part of creativity. When you walk into a room, what do you want people to feel and remember? Because Adrienne said it, people need to like you. People buy from who they like.
Yes.
People buy from who they like. But I want to go back, because I want to make sure, entrepreneurs, that you don't miss this. And we are coming to a close. So thank you guys for sticking with me. The process of creativity requires silence.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you need to hear your inner still voice, because that's creativity is not all about what you're inundated with from without. Yes, there will be things that you will see that will spark an idea. The Bible tells us that the Holy Spirit, it is God who gives us the ideas to generate wealth. That's creativity. You have to be able to sit still to hear him speak to you, to tell you, go try this, do this. Now, let me tell you why I say that, because I know there's somebody going, no, you need to be out in nature and you need to, this is why I say that. We are not creators. There's only one creator. There's only one creator. We are copycats. And I like that you used copycat syndrome, because when I say copycat, and I don't mean this like I see what you're doing, I'm going to go do it. But we do not have the composition to make something new. Remember, the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun.
That's good.
There's nothing new under the sun. We don't have the composition to do that. The Bible does not say that we can't receive something new.
Yes, yes.
But we have to sit still and be quiet to hear What is the new thing you want to give me? What is
Yes.
it that you want me to bring into this earth? What have you designed me to do? What is
Yes.
my thing? How do you want me to package that? How should I be doing that? You've got to be still and you've got to be quiet. Sometimes it's good to turn off your cell phone. Sometimes
Yes.
it's good to shut down the computer. Sometimes it's good to tell your spouse or tell your kids, I need an hour. I just want to go sit and rest. And don't fall asleep.
Yes.
We need rest, but be awake, be present,
Yes.
and be quiet.
Yes.
You'd be amazed what you'll hear. You'll be
So
amazed.
good.
Last thing I want to share with you, I'm going to send you some information about innovation, but there's one particular innovation that I want to share with you because I believe that in this season, this type of innovation is going to build more wealth than what we've seen in the last 20 years combined. And this is called disruptive innovation. Now, disruptive innovation, we've seen a lot of it. Like our worlds have been turned upside down by some of the things that have been designed and created. But disruptive innovation disrupts existing markets by introducing a new product, process, or service significantly different from existing offerings. And again, I'm going to go back to this usage of AI. Now, entrepreneur, do not fear technology, but do not become a slave to it. Use it as you are led to use it to build the idea that you have been given to build. That is it. But let me talk about this AI technology. When you look at artificial intelligence, it has disrupted industries, disrupted them. There are social media managers who are now saying, I am no longer needed. And social media managers were making huge money because nobody wants to take care of their own social media. It is a very time-consuming, all-encompassing responsibility. So people were making a lot of money just doing that for folks. Guess what? Now artificial intelligence is like, I'll create a plan for you. I'll make it so simple. All you got to do is hit execute. That's disruptive. So what we should be doing as entrepreneurs is asking the Lord how we can be disruptive in certain industries. What can He give us that can create a shift so dynamic that people are looking and wondering how they can keep up with what we've got going on?
Wow.
That's what's happening with AI. That's what's
Yeah.
happening. And
Yeah.
it is possible. It is possible. We just have to go about the process of being still and being quiet. Innovation is not a one-time event. So don't think that because somebody has created something, you won't be able to create something also. Creativity is not confined to a certain segment of the population. We all have the ability to really be able to drill down and be unique and creative and innovative and huge business builders. I want to leave you with this thought, and then I'll open for any questions or comments that you might have. When you look at a major corporation that is grossing billions of dollars, let's use Apple as an example, or even Coca-Cola. I want you to remind yourself that before they were huge corporations, they were an idea in somebody's head. It was an idea that rested in somebody's brain, that they went out and they executed and they kept at until it is what you see today. Coca-Cola did not start as a corporation. It started out as a beverage off the back of a wagon, and it was built into a multi-billion-dollar industry that has more than just beverages now. So that little idea that you have that's floating around in your brain is not just a little old idea. It is a huge business brand waiting to be birthed. And if you're in the middle of doing whatever it is that you're doing, please know this: you've only scratched the surface, but you've got to have the right mindset. You have to debunk the myths, and you have to be persistent, creative, and innovative in order to see that thing from idea to product or service. And you can. And if you want some more help with that, if you're watching the replay, if you want some more help with that and you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to. You can connect with me. You can send me an email. My email address is Tisha, Tisha, at Tisha S. Waddell, Tisha, the letter S like Sam, Waddell, WADDELL.com. I would be happy to connect with you. You can also call me. My business number is 910-960-7138. Call or text, and we can get you set up for an appointment. I am looking forward to seeing as many people succeed at entrepreneurship, because this is not just for one. it's for anybody who wants it. And there's enough money and enough customers out there for each and every one of us to be successful in our endeavors. And so I hope that this has been beneficial, that you have gained something, that you've learned something. You guys have given me something. Thank you for your comments. I really appreciate that. And I just want to ask you with our last couple of minutes, do you have any questions?
Tisha, I would like to say very quickly that this has been very good and interesting. Thank you so much. Thank